Let us bow our heads and remember we're in the presence of the Lord. Heavenly Father, as we gather here this evening, we again express our gratitude for all of the gifts you've given our community. We want to thank you for all of our citizens and for all of the opportunities that you've given us this previous year. We want to pray this time of year for the peace of the season. There's nothing that would bring more joy than to have that realized. But tonight we need to pause and reflect upon the tragedy that happened in our country. And I would just like to have, there's no words that express our grief and our sorrow. So we want to pause tonight and allow some time to remember those victims at Sandy Hook. Lord, we pray for the peace of those families and for all of those who have lost loved ones. I want to say a special prayer for Kenner citizen Brian Phillips, who passed this week. For these and all things, we ask your blessing. In your name we pray. Amen. Councilman DeNapolis, if you lead us in the pledge.
Madam Chairman, you have a quorum. Madam Chairman, I've received a request to amend the agenda to include item 13D, a resolution requesting the administration to have signage erected on Airline Drive and Williams Boulevard to direct traffic to the Butch Dewey Playground.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Black to suspend the council rules. All members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Madam Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Black to amend the agenda to include item 13D. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to object to adding this item? Hearing none, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. In accordance with Council Resolution Number B-14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones, pagers, beepers, and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. The consent agenda?
You have to read.
Yes, ma'am. Item 1 is approval of minutes, the regular council meeting of December 6th, 2012. Item 2 is approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. We have none. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. Item 3A is application number 1726-12, Rotary Club of Kenner to hold a public gathering for an annual run-walk event on Saturday, February 2nd, 2013, on various streets in the city of Kenner. Item 4 is correspondence, reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads. We have none. Item 5 is acceptance, rejection of bids requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. We have none. Item 6 is change orders requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. We have none. Item 7 is acceptance of committee findings for final passage. We have none. Item 8 is re-subdivision ordinances for final passage. We have none.
Motion by Councilmember Black, second by Councilmember Brannigan on consent. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9 is public hearings for final passage. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding resolution number B-16313, a resolution authorizing the City Council for the City of Kenner to hold a public hearing on Thursday, November 15, 2012, to determine whether or not buildings located at 3045 Tupelo Street, Kenner, Louisiana, should not be repaired or demolished.
Do we have a motion for a two-meeting deferral?
Yes, ma'am, we do have a motion for a two-meeting deferral.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black for a two-meeting deferral. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9B is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,380, an ordinance creating a Board of Standards and Appeals for the City of Kenner, designating the powers and duties of the board, establishing the membership thereof, and enacting amending Section 5-81 and 13-52 of the Kenner Code of Ordinances. Madam Chairman, we've also received a request to defer this for 2 meetings.
Motion by Councilmember DeNapolis, second by Councilmember DeFrancis for a meeting I'm sorry. What's your motion? Yes, was that your motion okay. Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember DeFrancis for a two-meeting deferral. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9C is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,433, an ordinance authorizing the annexation of an existing portion of Lake Town and the planned addition of Lake Town, which are currently located in unincorporated Jefferson Parish, referred to as West Annex Area and East Annex Area, per planned by BFM Corporation, project number 7834, dated June 15, 2012, and to provide for related matters.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Black to open a public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
We're now in a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,433. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this subject matter? Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Black to close public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0 to close.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Black. Councilmember Reyno.
I'd like to thank Jefferson Parish and Councilman Zahn, as well as Mayor Yenny and his administration for working hard to get this passed and through. Also Deborah Yenny, who worked real hard at it. It's real important. Lake Town is just so important to develop and make it an economic engine for future growth in Kenner. So thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Councilmember DeNapolis.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And I want to also echo Councilman Reyno, great work on this and the administration. I mean, this is just going to be they're going to open the door for a lot of opportunities out at Lake Town for the use out there and for the enjoyment of the citizens of Kenner and Jefferson Parish. And I can tell you that the expansion out there has been one thing that I've been wanting to see every year that I'm on the council, to see a bigger and greater use of Lake Town. And I think this is the first step in getting in that direction. So once again, I will be voting for this, and I want to thank the administration and Councilman Reyno for bringing this on. Thank you.
Councilmember Black.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I feel like right now I'm living in extraordinary times, because being raised in the city of Kenner all my life, this is a dream come true to see Lake Town take a form and a shape for the future. As I read in one of the NOLA.com articles, it said that, we would hope, the mayor had said that we hope that this will be the future Bucktown area, that, it's in close proximity to all the residences, but this will not really affect any of the residents in the water bottoms that we will be obtaining from the state. So we expect some wonderful things to combine with Coconut Beach and the Pontchartrain Center. And I wanted to explicitly say that to the people that live to the east of Williams Boulevard, the 21 acres of water bottoms that we will be obtaining is not part of the development at this time. I think that that's something that we can go work on in the future. The area that we're working on is to the west, the 54 acres of water bottoms that we will be using to develop. Hopefully, we can attract some restaurants and some other recreational activities, some hotels, and that this will be an area that will become prime real estate. It already is one of our most valuable pieces of real estate, but we expect bigger and better things. So my compliments to the District 3 councilman who worked with this, and to the mayor, and to our state reps and everyone that was involved, because this did require a lot of conversation and communication with the state of Louisiana. So, and Jefferson Parish, of course, whom we are grateful to for putting this on their agenda and letting this come to fruition. So we thank you, and of course, we look forward to it. And I just hope I live long enough to see it and appreciate it. So thank y'all, and of course, I will be supporting it.
Councilmember Stagney?
Thank you, Madam President. I, too, will be supporting this. It's a great first step to spur development and to one of the gems of our city. Councilman Reyno thanked the Assistant City Attorney, Ms. Yenny, the Yenny administration, Jefferson Parish, and he needs and deserves a pat on the back as well. As I understand it, he also worked by calling all of the council members. It's one of the pledges that he made when he ran for office, and he has hit the ground running. I think Kenner is perfectly situated. All the components are in place with the former District 3 councilman that is now in Jefferson Parish that can help this city attain the heights that we once had. And I think Lake Town and also Rivertown are going to lead to that ascension. So great job, everybody involved, and I'll be supporting it. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, Mr. Quigley.
I want to just call everybody's attention to the map that's on the screen, because some of the articles that were in newspaper and the Kenner Star were a little confusing. And without seeing the map, I don't think they quite understood what we were doing. But as you can see on the map, the Lake Town area is divided into 3 parcels. Well, that middle parcel is the only one that was actually in the municipal limits of Kenner. So what we had to do is we had to annex the other sections. And so the section which Ms. Black talked about to the west is the developed area, which was actually never in Kenner. So we went ahead and we annexed that. And while we were doing it, just like probably many years ago when they annexed that middle section, they'd probably been wise to annex the other sections then. We didn't want to make the same mistake, so we went ahead and we annexed the section to the east too, so that in the event we ever get the funds, or we can move forward, maybe develop in that area. But the state would only allow us to use the areas that are contiguous or even with the city-owned property. So as you can see, it only extends out directly behind the city property. So I know that there's been some residents concerned that this was going to be some massive thing behind homes and so forth and so on. It's only an area that's directly behind the property owned by the city. And we're hoping, actually our lease does not really encompass the eastern section, but we've been talking to the state about actually annexing that part as far as our lease also. So now we're annexing all of it into the entirety of the city of Kenner, and then hopefully the state will allow us to annex that eastern portion as part of our lease too. But I thought it was good to at least see a map, and hopefully people on KTV can also see the map, because like I said, there's been some misunderstandings as to what we're doing. Yeah, now you may see one of the east side is like on an angle, a diagonal. The reason we had to do that is there's those power lines in there. We had to stay 100 feet away from the power line. So that's why it's on an angle like that. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Quigley. Mr. Francis.
Thank you, Council President. Again, our thanks and congratulations to the mayor and to Councilman Reyno, because I know how hard they work together. Ms. Yenny, you did a phenomenal job in making this happen, and I know how hard you work. I know Ms. Yenny went to Jefferson Parish to make sure it went smoothly through the council, at the council meeting. Councilman Reyno was there, and I was there for a while, but I had to leave. And also, our thanks to Jefferson Parish and our councilman who represents Mr. Zahn, who represents Kenner on that council. The entire council in Jefferson Parish supported us. It was a united effort on their part to support us, along with the Jefferson Parish administration, and that's what made it possible. And this council was united. We went to meetings with Ms. Yenny and the mayor and Councilman Reno to make sure we all understood exactly what was encompassed in this annexation, and we had a united group here as well behind this project. And that shows you what working together can accomplish. And so I'm very proud of this council. I'm proud of the mayor, Ms. Yenny, and Jefferson Parish. This is going to be a jewel, not only for the city of Kenner as it develops, but for all of Jefferson Parish and the surrounding area. And we're so proud and happy that it's going to be here in the city of Kenner. Thank you to everyone concerned, and congratulations.
Mayor Yenny?
Thank you. I want to thank you all for y'all's support. You know, this is something I started working on right after I got elected in 2010. We started working with the State Land Office on what we needed to do to get commercial development out to Lake Town. So we've worked very hard since then, and as you can see, the wheels of government do not turn at a speedy pace. But we're hoping now that all this is done and we've gotten through the Jefferson Parish Council and the problems we've had with the levy district, that now we can move forward and let the state put out an RFP, a request for proposal for commercial development outside the levee protection system at Lake Town. So thank you all for your support. We think this is going to, really be a stronghold for the future of Kenner, and we can get some good economic development out there. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, point of clarification?
Yes, Madam Chairman, since this was published for first reading, we have since received the Jefferson Parish ordinance that was adopted on December 12, 2012, ordinance number 24391, which will be made part of the record. So I just wanted to clarify, there is an amendment that will be coming up right now that will clarify this in the legislation also.
Okay. Has everybody spoken on the matter except for to close and make the amendment? You're going to make the amendment when you close? Well, you're the last one to speak, so I don't want to not have any speakers left to make the amendment. So if everybody else has spoken, I'm going to allow for Councilman Reno to close and oppose the amendment, if you'll put your light on. Okay, Councilman Reno to close. Council Clerk, do you have the amendment? Is the amendment from the administration?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Can you read that amendment?
Yes, sir. It's just basically to, in the fourth whereas, to add December 12, 2012, as well as ordinance number 24391.
So that was the resolution from the Jefferson Parish Council?
Right.
Okay. Okay, so motion by Councilmember Reno, second by Councilmember Brannigan on the amendment. So on the amendment, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
You have more? Would you like to go on? Okay, and Councilmember Reno, you, if you'll put your little light on, so I can, there you go, to close.
Again, I just wanted to, thank the administration and Jefferson Parish and Councilman Zahn. This truly is something that is going to change the city, especially, North Kenner. And I'm just so excited that this is getting done now and that we can move ahead. I know there's some leases with the state that we're currently working with to redo, and I think this is going to go a lot quicker than a lot of people think. So I'm real excited about it, and I know it's going to change the shape of North Kenner and all of Kenner. And thank you very much.
Seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9D is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,448, an ordinance amending the 2012-2013 operating budget to budget funds received from Jefferson Parish in the amount of $196,970 for the continued operation of the Kenner Loop bus service through the 2012-2013 fiscal year.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black to open public hearing. Council members, please vote. one vote?
One more. Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
We're now in a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,448. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this subject matter? Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black to close public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black. Councilmember Carroll, did you want to speak? Okay, there you go. Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. And it is appropriate always to first acknowledge individuals who help support something and to show that myself, this council, and the citizens of Kenner are grateful for this particular addition to ensure that for 2013 that the bus service will be in line. And I would like to personally thank, on behalf of the city of Kenner, Councilman from Jefferson Parish Spears, Councilman Zahn, and Mayor Yenny for their hard work for this, because they realize that this is something very important, not only for the citizens of Kenner, but also for the business owners, for the schools, for the whole entire city. And this is good for this year, but the reality is, after reading through the resolution from the parish, it is only for 1 year. So we will be back at this again next year. So the solution is to be able to find a funding source to ensure that the city of Kenner will be as transportation appropriate as any major city. And I consider the city of Kenner a major city in the state of Louisiana. It is all of the good things going on, the new charter school last week, we're talking about the zoning, we're talking about all these wonderful things, but not to have a dependable transportation system is something that is unfathomable for anybody to even think about that. So this is something, we're glad to have it this year, but it is something we need to continue to work on to ensure that in the future, all of the citizens of Kenner, all of the businesses, all of the schools, and everyone can wake up in the morning and know if they don't have personal transportation, that they can rely on public transportation. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilmember Carroll. Councilmember Stagney?
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. McConnell, how much in millage do the city of Kenner pay to Jefferson Parish for the transportation millage?
Residents pay
Between
between $800 and $850,000 a year.
$800 and $850,000?
A year, yes.
Prior to this year, how much were we getting back from the parish?
We were getting about $50,000 a year.
All right. So we would put in close to $850,000, and we would only get $50,000 back.
Correct.
And it seems to be a little bit of an imbalance, and Kenner seems to be getting shortchanged. We made an effort by passing a resolution here. The administration made an effort by going to the parish, and the two at-large members, Mr. Lagasse and Mr. Roberts, as well as Councilman Zahn and Mr. Spears, made an effort, and we got this for 1 year. But there has to be some permanency to the fair share that our taxpayers are paying into that transportation millage.
Yeah, the administration is working with the parish on a permanent formula, a new formula to give us a reasonable share. That is still in process. We're hoping to get something done in the next few months, so we'll have it in place for next year's budget. So that is being worked on with the parish.
Okay. We're hoping that we can get this one done, because we're going to start talking about Lafayette Park pretty soon as well. Thank you, Mr. McConnell.
All right, Councilmember Carroll to close.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to thank Councilman Stagney for bringing that up, and Mr. McConnell, because that information, the numbers, are important. And it reflects that the council nor the city of Kenner, we're only asking what's fair for us. And what's fair is for us to have a bigger chunk of the amount of monies that we're putting into this. So it's good to hear that Mr. McConnell said that we are working on something to go forward in the future. I appreciate that. And I just keep my fingers crossed that we'll be able to get there sooner than later. Thank you, Madam President.
Seeing no further discussion, Councilmember, No, it was opened and closed. Okay. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9E is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,442, an ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 1 and Article 2 of the City of Kenner Code of Ordinances regarding vehicles for hire.
Motion by Councilmember DeNapolis, second by Councilmember DeFrancis to open public hearing.
Madam
Councilmem-
Chairman, I've received a request
Oh.
to defer this for 2 meetings.
Okay.
please.
Motion by Councilmember DeNapolis, second by Councilmember DeFrancis for a 2-meeting deferral. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. Item 12A is summary ordinance number 11,443, an ordinance amending section 5-63, regulating substandard buildings in the city of Kenner.
Motion by Councilmember Black, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Oops. Councilmember DeNapolis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tamithia, basically what we're doing is just cleaning up the language as far as, I guess, bringing it a little newer and clearer language rather than calling them dwellings and basically kind of old, outdated language.
Yes, as we're going through the code of ordinances, we're finding things that are outdated. The state law reflects when, allows the governing authority to demolish buildings and structures, and our statute says dwelling and dwelling units. So we're just simply bringing this forward to reflect the state law that allows us to destroy the buildings and structures and parts thereof.
Correct. And just to let the public know that this is just a correction, not a correction, but just a change in what we call buildings and structures and dwellings, and not any less enforcement that we've been doing as far as
No,
getting
this is
rid of
just-
blighted property in
This
Kenner.
is just to clarify that we're in tune with the state law that allows us to do buildings and structures.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Tamithia.
Ms. Shaw, did you want to speak as well, or was that just?
Just to answer the
To
question,
answer.
just like I said, in our current law, it says in accordance with the law, but we hadn't reflected it. So this is just a change to reflect the state law.
Okay. All right, seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 12B is summary ordinance number 11,444, an ordinance renaming and designating the Gladys Gym Basketball Court, the Alan J. Gode Jr. Memorial Court, in honor of Al Gode's service to the Kenner Recreation Department and the residents of the city of Kenner. Madam Chairman, I've received a request to defer this for 2 meetings, please.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Black. Councilmember Reyno,
Thank you, Madam President. I asked for a deferral. Carol Gode asked me if I could put it off for 2 meetings so she could get the whole family together. It just didn't, the time frame didn't work, so thank you.
and there's a bunch of them, so that's tough to do. Okay, so for a 2-meeting deferral, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution requesting that the mayor appoint the city attorney and the director of the Department of Inspection and Code Enforcement to review cases relative to code enforcement violations pending before mayor's court to determine which cases may fall within the purview of the Board of Standards and Appeals for the city of Kenner. Madam Chairman, I've received a request to defer this for 2 meetings, please.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember DeFrancis for a 2-meeting deferral. January 17th is going to be a long meeting. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13B is a resolution to authorize certain actions and individuals to perform designated functions required by the state for the City of Kenner's participation in the State of Louisiana Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program through the State of Louisiana Division of Administration, Office of Community Development, as well as the adoption of required policies and procedures relating thereto.
Motion by Councilmember, is this somebody's legislation? Okay, motion by Councilmember Black, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Oh, is it your legislation? Okay, Councilmember Carroll. I'm sorry.
So,
Madam Chairman, can you clarify, please?
Oh, you just put your light on to receive the second? Or did you want to speak? Okay.
yes.
You, no. Councilmember Carroll, you have the floor.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, I think we need a clarification for the clerk. So are
Madam
you?
Chairman, can you clarify, please? Your motions.
That's what I was asking. Did you want the motion?
Yes.
Or the second? Okay, Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Terrell, if you please could walk up to the mic with your pretty green hat on, just to give a little details, not about this particular program and what exactly it is saying as functions that we've been doing for a number of years. If you could just a little detail about that, would appreciate it.
Yes, basically, as a result of Hurricanes Katrina, Isaac, and Rita, the state received CDBG funds from the federal government in the form of recovery dollars. And those dollars were awarded to the different municipalities throughout Jefferson Parish. Many of the certifications and policies and procedures that you see in this packet, the City of Kenner had adopted something similar under our regular CDBG entitlement program. However, the LRA CDBG dollars require that all entities receiving these federal funds adopt the same policies, program procedures, and take the same required actions. And so this action is basically to put us on the same page with all of the other recipients of the money that's been awarded by the state. So it's basically shadowing what we primarily already do as an entitlement program through HUD.
Right. So the LRA funds are separate from our normal
Yes.
CDBG, and we just want to be clear about that.
Yes.
There are
Yes.
no ties as far as any regulation or anything to it. This is something separate, or do we normally receive funds after major disasters like this, or is this as far as from your tenure?
Well, when a major disaster occurs, you basically receive funding based on the extent that your city and its residents had losses. If you look at the monies that we've been allocated through the LRA funds, we received larger allocations from Katrina and Ike than I think we did from perhaps Gustav. If Gustav was it Gustav, the storm that had the least damage? No, yeah, so, yes. So that allocation, you'll see a difference in the amount that's been awarded.
And this is also significant because, as we all know, each year, our normal CDBG has been going down.
Right.
So for us to receive these monies is something good, and
Yeah.
we all appreciate it.
For the last 4 years, it's been in excess of $3 million, so it's been a big help to the city of Kenner.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Terrell.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. This legislation additionally goes through policies and procedures for persons with impairment, lists
Yes. The Section
Community
504
Development Director
requirements.
as the point of contact for hiring.
Section 3, yes.
So, Madam President, if we can, this is a function of the Community Development Block Grant. If we could put as a second either Councilman DeNapolis or myself to Mr. Carroll's motion, if that's possible.
Because why?
Well, this is a function of the CDBG committee,
Oh, of the committee. Okay, I'm sorry.
so, and appreciate Ms. Terrell and all that she does to prepare this information for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you leaving it on me to decide between Councilmember DeNapolis and yourself? Okay, Councilmember DeNapolis. Okay, seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13C is a resolution requesting the immediate enforcement of ordinance number 1659 as it pertains to vehicles for hire that use the streets within the city of Kenner limits.
Motion by Councilmember DeNapolis, second by Councilmember DeFrancis. Councilmember DeNapolis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, what I would like to do is read in the record and put an amendment on the floor to include the whereases and sections on this resolution and put it in global. And if, Teresa, if you can read it into the record, do you have a copy or do you want me to read it into the record? I'll be happy to.
Yes, sir, I'll read it into the record.
Thank you.
We're also going to change the caption, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Yes, sir. The caption is going to read, "A resolution requesting the immediate enforcement of Chapter 16, Article 2, Section 16-59 of the City of Kenner Code of Ordinances as it pertains to vehicles for hire that use the streets within the City of Kenner." And the first whereas will read, "The City of Kenner has enacted rules and regulations governing for hire transportation within the City of Kenner, and whereas these rules, regulations, inspections, and licenses of vehicles for hire are required in the City of Kenner in the interest of safety for the public, and whereas the jurisdiction of the whereas the jurisdiction of New Orleans has put in place a deadline requiring all vehicles for hire at the Louis Armstrong Airport located within the City of Kenner to be in compliance with rules and regulations instituted by the City of New Orleans for said vehicles, and whereas the City of Kenner also reserves its rights to compel the vehicles for hire licensed by the City of New Orleans which travel through the City of Kenner to comply with all rules and regulations established for such vehicles by the City of Kenner, and whereas the City of New Orleans has instituted an unobtainable deadline of December 31st, 2012 regarding inspections for vehicles for hire operating at Louis Armstrong International Airport licensed by the City of Kenner, and therefore, the Council for the City of Kenner hereby resolves, Section 1, that until such time the City of New Orleans extends the December 31st, 2012 deadline and grants an opportunity for the City of Kenner to properly review all provisions as they impact vehicles for hire licensed by the City of Kenner that operate at the Louis Armstrong International Airport located within the City of Kenner limits. Section 2, therefore, we, the Council of the City of Kenner, must request an immediate enforcement of the City of Kenner Code of Ordinances, Chapter 16, Article 2, Section 16-59.
Motion?
Motion by Councilmember DeNapolis, second by Councilmember DeFrancis. On that amendment in globo, I have a point of clarification I wanted to ask the city attorney. Because the caption, this was asked of me, because the caption was changed, is that proper that we can make an amendment to change the caption of legislation?
Well, I was just talking to Ms. Shaw about it, and it doesn't appear the caption changes anything substantive, only it's a text change to fully flesh out which section of the code that it's amending, so I think it's.
Okay, so it doesn't change the intent of the legislation?
Right.
And so then
It's a text
it's
change, not a
appropriate?
substantive change, and it's a resolution.
So it has no weight of the law?
Right.
Okay. Councilmember DeNapolis, did you want to speak on the amendment?
No, I just want to go ahead and
Okay.
put the motion on the floor.
All right. Council members, Mr. Conley, could you? There we go. All right. Council members, please vote. On the amendment.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0 on the amendment.
And it's back on the floor as amended. Seeing no further discussion.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Apologize.
Councilmember DeNapolis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Obviously, what we just passed was just to clean up the the resolution. And basically, late this evening, all of us got copies of a news press release that the mayor sent out that the New Orleans Aviation Board has now extended that deadline. So therefore, considering the content of the press release that they have extended this December 31st deadline, I would like to put a motion on the floor to defer this matter 2 meetings.
Yes, sir.
Motion by Councilmember DiNapoli, second by Councilmember DeFrancis for a 2-meeting deferral. I have a few people that lights are on. Do you want to speak on deferral? On a 2-meeting, we can only speak about the 2-meeting deferral.
That's fine.
Okay. No, Councilmember DiNapoli, are you finished?
Yeah, just to
Okay.
let you know that, I mean, just to go and give you a little history about this, that this has been ongoing negotiations with Tameithia Shaw.
We can't talk about the legislation, only the deferral.
Deferral, okay. And that the reason why we're deferring it, and the reason why I was telling you how we were deferring it, is because the negotiations have continued, and up to the last hour, we got this press release, so therefore, I think it being a good prudence at this time, at this point in time, defer the matter. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember DeFrancis?
I was simply going to say again, we received the information at the last moment. The reason for the deferral, again, gives us an opportunity to try to work together to resolve this issue. And that's the most important thing, to make sure that the issues that have not been addressed up to this point and that we need to make sure do get addressed in the most positive way for everyone concerned. It will give us that opportunity, so that's why we're asking for the deferral. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Stagney, you going to give us an explanation for the deferral? Okay.
Thank you, Madam President. On deferring this, Mr. DiNapoli said the purpose was because the Aviation Board met and gave an extension to the compliance deadline that they first had in place. Do we know how long the extension is, or that was given?
I was at the meeting today for the New Orleans Aviation Board, and what the officials said that they will continue to monitor and bring recommendations at their next meeting, which is January 17th. They haven't committed that that's the deadline. They just want to see how, what they said in the, at the New Orleans Aviation Board meeting was that there's not enough equipment to install. So even if you wanted to go, there's not enough equipment to do it. So they want to continue to monitor the situation to determine where we are and making sure everyone has the opportunity to install the equipment if they choose to do so. So that was the reason that they're not going to enforce the compliance deadline of December 31st and allow taxi drivers to continue to work at the airport, was what you requested with your resolution for an extension. So that's.
Is it possible that the 17th is their meeting? Is that
17 is their meeting, yes.
Is it possible that that's their deadline date, that they could just move the deadline to that date as opposed to the beginning of this year?
I didn't get that. Like I said, they have committed to working with the local officials of the surrounding governing authorities.
Okay.
Because of the calls that you guys have made to them to say this is a problem. They recognized it. And if they do take action, they also have to send it to their council in New Orleans. So they'll be looking at options. And we have, I sent an email today to confirm that we all are going to be trying to get together a meeting date to discuss the problems and where we go from here.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
All right. Councilmember Black.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to clarify, now, this all began and came into the city of Kenner because we were talking with some of the Kenner and Jefferson Parish taxi cab drivers about the extension and if they would give them enough time. If they're only extending it, say, to 17 days, is that going to give everybody, if we defer this, is that going to give everybody enough time even with the 17 days? And that's one of my concerns about. I mean, I know we have to. We're going to defer it because we want to wait. But is that going to be ample time for the people that we are here representing, and that's the Jefferson Parish cab drivers, because I know this all began, and they gave them the extension because of problems in Orleans Parish. So that might give them time, but is it going to give us time? That's one of the things why I'm concerned about is if we did defer it till that time.
Well, the taxi cab drivers that I've spoken to were saying that they felt that they were boxed out, that they couldn't get the equipment. We have people who've approached the city, and I don't want to give names until they actually file occupational license, but I understand that one is supposed to come, and they're going to service Kenner cabs in the city of Kenner. So they will have the opportunity to start. They don't have to worry about anybody else but the city of Kenner cabs being serviced to get the equipment, to make the upgrades and improvements, to meet the New Orleans airport requirements, which are different from the New Orleans city requirements.
Are you all happy with that?
Let me give you a mic, just a sec. Yes, Mr. Francis?
We met with Ms. Shaw, and I think everyone is misunderstanding something she said, but I want her to clarify it. When we spoke, the 17th is not the deadline.
No.
And I think some people are assuming that the 17th is the deadline. They're having the meeting then, and they can't very well, I would think, say that that's the deadline on the same day that they're having the meeting.
And from what
What they're saying it is.
By that night.
No, I don't think the 17th is the deadline.
Right.
What they're doing is they need to come back to their board. Anything they do has to be passed by their council. They had a board meeting today, and their council had a board meeting, had a council meeting today. There was no time frame, but they wanted it on the record that they would not be enforcing the December 31st date.
Okay, but they haven't given an actual date after the meeting on the 17th. They haven't given an actual deadline.
No, there's no deadline.
All right.
There's no deadline
Thank
as
you.
of
I'm
today.
done.
Okay. Councilmember Denapolis to close.
Right. First of all, that's why it's a two-meeting deferral, is because it gives them the time to get back an actual date to us. So at that point in time, we as a council, and this is administration, will see fit that is that date realistic or it's not realistic. And if it's not realistic, this legislation will be brought back up. So at this time, a two-meeting deferral, I think, is safe. I think it's in the best interest of negotiating with the city of New Orleans, and it still, holds our interest with our taxi cab companies that reside here in Kenner. So I'm comfortable with that at this point in time. Thank you.
Okay. On the deferral, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13D is a resolution requesting the administration to have signage erected on Airline Drive and on Williams Boulevard to direct traffic to the Butch Dewey Playground.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Black. Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. I've had a request for some visiting playground parents and also some of our, God bless you, some of our employees at Butch Dewey to have some directional signage. As we know, there's a one-way going eastbound on 10th Street. Some parents from other parts of the city do not know that. So I'd like to ask Public Works to work with me. I'm going to send an email over to Mr. Gonzalez to have one directional sign at Williams and 11th Street with a right arrow going down to Daniel with a left arrow, then to 10th, and I'll spell all of that out. But we want one entry point from Williams and two from Airline to get to Butch Dewey, and then I'll ask the Department of Recreation at a later date, probably through a memo, to get some type of sign on the, let's say, the gym or something recognizing the playground, so as soon as they drive up. But I'd ask for your support. This is just something simple I wanted to get done. I appreciate the legal department for writing this up on such short notice, but if we can get this done maybe over the next 2 or 3 weeks, that would be a big help. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda.
We have none.
Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 11,445, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of 2 nozzle assemblies from Covington Sales and Service Incorporated in the amount of $7,079.06, plus freight charges for the Department of Public Works Division of Drainage.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember DeFrancis. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15B is summary ordinance number 11,446, an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Foster Custom Awnings LLC in the amount of $5,624 to build and install a regular style awning on the existing frame at the Children's Castle in Rivertown in accordance with telephone bid number T12-1928 for the Kenner Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black. Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Maricoli, are we at a point yet to address any information as it relates to the proposed occupation of this building or not? If we're not, then I'd rather not even.
I could tell you that basically they're in the process of getting their insurance worked out. With the ordinance that changed a few meetings ago, they have some other stipulations that now have to be ironed out with their insurance. And once their insurance is up to date and in place, then that should be the final hurdle in this in this organization occupying that building.
So we'll hold further discussion until that work done. We can address it fully.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilmember Reyno.
Thank you, Madam President. I have, it may be a rookie question, but I have to ask a question. On this bid, it says that there's a 50% deposit required. Is that normal practice for the city of Kenner, to have to put a deposit down on?
Well, it's just basically, in a lot of cases, when they do different things with construction, that they do require something to get some of the material up front. I mean, we're not, okay. If Teresa can clarify a little better. Oh, you get the small one.
Whoops, let me, I'm sorry.
On that quote, but we don't.
Nobody ever uses that, so we hardly ever have it on.
Yeah, but this was just built for me.
That's right.
We don't do deposits. It's gonna be, this one's for, is this one for 5,000? It's gonna be a purchase order, total amount when done. They'll get paid.
Okay, I'm just questioning because on the estimate here that I'm looking at, unless I'm looking at the wrong one, it says 50% deposit.
Yeah, but they're aware of the fact that we don't do the 50%.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm glad Councilman Reyno clarified that because this is I think, third piece of legislation we've seen over 2 meetings where in the legislation it says it requires a 50% deposit. So the administration's telling us that we get a purchase order when the project is done, and that's when we pay it? Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15C is summary ordinance number 11,447, an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Charvet's Garden Center Incorporated for a 2-year contract to furnish and install, maintain, and water trees for the city of Kenner on an as-needed basis, as per specifications concealed in seal bid number 12-6103, in an amount not to exceed $25,000 per year for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilmember Black, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15D is a resolution approving change order number 1 in the amount of $3,113.35 to the construction contract with Capstone Builders Incorporated for improvements and modifications to the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Resource Center, Kenner Community Development Project Number 10-021, resulting in an overall increase to the total cost from $73,875 to $76,988.35, and provided for related matters.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance ratifying the emergency purchase of equipment necessary to repair the traffic control box located at the intersection of West Esplanade Avenue and Loyola Drive, which was damaged due to an automobile accident from Signal Equipment Company South, in the amount of $9,568 for the Department of Public Works. Item 16B is an ordinance authorizing the utilization of state contract number 409096 for the purchase and installation of cubicle workstations and associated furniture at the Kenner-owned facility located at 421 Williams Boulevard from Associated Office Systems in the amount of $50,589.61 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16C is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Lob Lexus Incorporated for an annual contract to supply fertilization applications at various recreation facilities in accordance with seal bid number 12-6108 in the amount not to exceed $25,000 per year for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16D is an ordinance authorizing the purchase and installation of emergency lights, sirens, and accessories in the amount of $39,088.42 under state contract number 408186 from Vehicle Parts and Equipment Company Incorporated to equip 14 2012 model year Chevrolet Caprice sedan vehicles for the Kenner Police Department. Item 17 is reports from the council and/or special committees.
Well, I wanted to ask the mayor about our recycling program. I know we kicked that off, was it yesterday morning? Seems like so long ago already. Tell us where the locations are and what products we're accepting.
Sure. We have our recycling program is now in full swing. We have 2 locations, one at Musbertolino Playground, I'm sorry, not Musbertolino, Kenner City Park, and of course right here behind us at City Hall and right near Veterans Park. And I'll have to get the list of everything you can and can't recycle because there are some do's and don'ts. But it's a 24/7 drop-off. It's both are in pretty lighted areas. Hang on one second, I can get that.
Is that on our website, what is accepted at the?
That's where I'm pulling it up.
Okay.
If you go to the Kenner website and you go under residents, we have it has its own section now in the drop-down. It's recycling drop-off program. And acceptables include plastic containers, aluminum, tin, steel containers, paper products such as magazines, phone books, newspapers, junk mail, cardboard and other boxes, shredded paper. The shredded paper has to be in plastic bags. And then we have a list of what we don't accept at the location, at both the locations. There's plenty of signage right there.
Probably one of the more common things that we don't accept is glass.
Glass, absolutely, yes, ma'am.
Other than that, check the website so you can see what's excluded, but, most of your plastics, aluminums, which are the more common recycling items, and paper, but no glass. Okay, well, that's exciting. We've been waiting a while for that, so thank you for working on that and bringing that to the city.
And I know that's why you wore green tonight, to go green, so
That's
thank
right.
you very much.
Somebody else called me elf on the shelf, but this was for Go Green. The other thing is to remind everybody that our Christmas Village is still open, in full swing through the 22nd, where we'll have probably continuing entertainment and whatever booths and refreshments are offered out there. After the 22nd, the lights will still be on, even though there won't be the same type of events going on each night. It's open to the public for people to walk through and come enjoy the light show, probably through the week leading up to New Year's. So please come down to our Christmas Village. Councilmember DeNapolis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know us as parents always are looking for venues for our kids to go to nice, safe, fun, wholesome events. The Wentwood Booster Club is holding a Christmas sock hop. It's this Friday. It's from 6 to 9 p.m., which is located right at 200 West Loyola Drive. It's being put on by the Wentwood Booster Club. If you would like to be a chaperone and volunteer during this event for the kids to dance and have fun and music and that sort of thing, please come on. And also, that's also going to be a drop-off point for Toys for Tots, so if you want to make a donation for Toys for Tot. But if you can kind of zoom in on it, it's only $5, and it's a great event to bring your child to have a little fun with, you know, kids their ages. And like I said, it's being chaperoned. It's nearly a shut-in event, so it's going to be very safe for the kids. So please bring your kids this Friday. Just remember. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. It is my honor to be able to announce that there's an organization that has been around in the city of Kenner since 1952. Actually, it's a sorority. It is a group of educators that started at the Washington Elementary, and the organization is called the Swans. Many of you may have heard of them. It's a sorority with young ladies that have a debutante cotillion that will be this Sunday. I am, honored that I will be participating with that, but also I'm privileged to the fact that a number of my relatives, especially some of my close relatives who were the founding members of this organization, has been too many young ladies and their parents that have been involved in this for me to name, but I would like to name the 10 ladies that started this in 1952. Because as we know, this is the celebration of the civil rights movement for 50 years. And we tend to think of cities, New York, Chicago, of people only being part of the civil rights movement, where little towns at that time, like Kenner and other places, also played a significant part. And this was a group that started in 1952 that evolved into the civil rights movement for educating young ladies, for teaching them responsibilities, civil responsibilities, that made them to be proud and to go on to jobs, careers all over the country. So, like I said before, a number of my relatives have been part of this group, and the founding ones, I like to name their names. The late Margaret C. Houston, the late Ethel H. James, the late Betsy B. Hammond, the late Hilda S. Bijal, the late Lucille Carroll, the late Gloria Bijal, the late Edna Crockham, the late Evelyn Carroll, the late Doris Bijal Jones, and Angelina Harris. These young ladies at the time started this organization. Their daughters and granddaughters and great-granddaughters have participated. This is, like I said before, the 60th year. And, for a young man who really was never part of, obviously I couldn't be part of the sorority, but they instilled in me all of the confidence, all of the things that a young man, to be respectful to young women, to ladies, to your community, that I needed to be able to carry on within my life. So I owe a lot of gratitude to them. So I will look forward to celebrating with them this Sunday, the 23rd. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. It's great. Very nice. Councilmember DeFrancis.
Thank you, Council President. I know we touched on it earlier, but at Exhibition Hall today, the City of Kenner gave out hams and turkeys and fruits and so many other food items that so many of our needy people here in Kenner lined up to be able to participate in that program at Exhibition Hall. I simply have to thank Ms. Terrell and an absolutely host of volunteers who made it go so smoothly. It was incredible. I was out there, and the mayor was out there, and I believe Ms. Newton was out there as well. And Barry, who takes pictures, and Jose, and so many others that I can't even mention. But again, the people were lined up. They were so appreciative. It broke your heart to see one lady crying because she felt so, touched about what the city was doing and was so grateful to be part of it. And I will tell you that it warmed your heart to see that we have a city here that cares about the needy in our city. And I hope everyone remembers that we have so many others of our neighbors who are in dire need because of the state of the economy today. And please don't forget to see if there's someone in your neighborhood that maybe needs an extra hug or maybe needs some extra food, and maybe their children need an extra small present. So if you can, please look around you and see those that are in need, and don't forget them at this time of giving and sharing, and a time when we all need to pull together and help one another. So Ms. Terrell, to you and all of those who are out there, on behalf of myself and I think so many others, thank you for all you did for the people of Kenner. And to the mayor, I was so glad to see you out there. I think the people appreciated the fact that this city was behind them in this effort. Thank you.
Mayor Yenny?
Oh,
Whoop. Well, wait.
Some friends of mine left today to go out of town, and let me just warn anyone who's flying, with the improvements going on the road to the airport, there's a lot of construction going on. Please give yourself enough time, at least 15 minutes or more longer than you would normally give yourself, to make sure you don't miss that flight. So I just thought that was important to mention. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor.
No, I just wanted to add to what Councilwoman DeFranco said. I want to thank the directors and their staffs that came out today and volunteered for the Christmas basket give out, and one of our favorite elves, Miss Teresa, because Miss Teresa was out there. She was running the ham give out, and she did an excellent job along with
Ham for a ham, huh?
That's what I'm telling you. Along with Wendy Folse and a number of our staff members. Jose probably told more people Feliz Navidad than he said in his life. So I want to thank them all for being out there today with us. And yes, Miss Terrell's daughter, who probably will find a special meaning for Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. All right. Council Clerk?
Yes, ma'am. Item 18 is new business.
We have none.
Item 19 is unfinished business and our motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position.
We have none.
Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
We have two. Mr. Al Morella?
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 40 years. I want to comment on 9D, this money concerning the Kenner Loop. Councilman Stagney, I expressed your sentiments with Ben Zahn months ago at the Jefferson Parish Council meeting when they voted to allocate this money to keep that line going. But now one thing I did not find out, we paying $850,000 a year in the property tax. We only getting $50,000 back. Now, I'd like to direct this question to you, Duke McConnell. What was the subsidy? Because we all know that $50,000 is not enough money to operate that Kenner Loop. So I would like to know what kind of subsidy, how much money we were subsidizing that line on top of the $850,000 that the taxpayers was already paying. And you want him to answer now, Michelle, or wait till I'm done?
Pardon me. No, I'll stop it. Mr. McConnell?
For the last several years, the city has not been subsidizing it. We were getting money from the RTA, which gave us the rest of the money to operate it, but the RTA money is not available anymore, so the parish is giving us additional money. But the city has not been subsidizing it.
Okay, the city has not been subsidizing. You've been getting money from the RTA.
Correct.
Was any of that money you got from the RTA, was any of that money taxpayer dollars from the citizens of Kenner?
Well, it's federal money. It's taxpayer money. I don't know how much it would be from the city of Kenner, but it's federal money.
Doesn't matter whether it's federal tax dollars or state tax dollars or city tax dollars. It's more tax dollars paid for by the citizens of Kenner on top of the $850,000 we was already paying. Thank you, Duke McConnell. Number two, let's talk about the taxi cab drivers. Since the city of Kenner had little or virtually no say in the mayor of New Orleans extending his rules and regulations into Jefferson Parish and the city of Kenner, I'd like to know if anybody expressed any concerns on the companies that they are using to install all this equipment in these cabs, because I got a taxi cab driver in my neighborhood that told me he brought it to one of these companies that was appointed by the city of New Orleans, whoever, to do the work, and he came out to start his vehicle and he had a dead battery because they hooked all this electronic stuff up wrong. Now, has anybody did any research up here or asked any questions about these companies who's doing the work on these taxi cabs? Michelle, you want to let anybody answer? Anybody wants to answer?
I don't have any lights on, but I think we've, okay, wait, hold. But I think at previous meetings, we've all, that was part of the dialogue, was expressing concern for the lack of enough companies, and that people were not having positive results with the companies that they were going to. So I have two lights on now, if you'll hold on a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeNapolis.
Al, I don't think you were here at the last meeting, but the last meeting
Yes, I was here, Ken.
the meeting that we actually discussed exactly when, and I actually called those companies, 3 of which never called me back. You know, several of them have appointments all the way into January. We're not imposing, at this time, the city of Kenner is not imposing our city cabs to use any of those services, okay? We are not. The city of New Orleans is, okay? And that, if you read the dialogue that got read in tonight's legislation that got deferred, it explicitly says, you know, give us a little time for us to do our own investigation before we comply our own taxi cabs to it. So we're not finished what we're doing, okay? And I'm not saying, and once again, I'm not saying that those regulations that are imposed by New Orleans are incorrect or correct. It's just that at this time, we're not imposing it on our taxi cabs, okay? So until we do our investigation and our due diligence, I can't tell you what the city of Kenner and the taxi cab committee and this council is going to vote on, okay? Because once again, they've decided that's the route that they want their taxi cabs to go. We as a council and this administration hasn't decided that route yet. So that's where we are right now, and we are in the middle of negotiations at this time. But I tell you what, this council will make sure that it's fair for our taxi cabs, whatever gets settled, okay? And that's where we're at right now. Thank you, Al.
Well, thank you. And
Okay,
you just made, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Councilmember DeFrancis? Oh, you got to, well, you're going to have to put your light back on again because you touched the wrong button. Joe, there you go. Councilmember DeFrancis.
Oh, this time it came on. Okay. Mr. Morello, we have been diligent working on exactly those issues. We have a lot of apprehension about some of the companies they're using. And therefore, the reason for this resolution that we put together and the verbiage that's in this resolution, which was very, very carefully drafted, was to ensure that we were going to review every single provision that the city of New Orleans was trying to impose on our vehicles for hire, and make sure that when the final product, when we finally work together and decide what would be appropriate for our vehicles for hire, what provisions would apply to them, that we have done our due diligence. And that's what Councilman DeNapolis and I have been working very hard on every day, to be honest with you. We are not, I simply will not allow any of these taxi cab drivers to go install equipment, okay, that may not be in their best interest to do so. That we don't know about the quality of the equipment, we don't know the cost of the equipment, and we don't even know in some cases if it's absolutely necessary. Those are the kind of questions we have to negotiate. And it's only when we all work together, with New Orleans and the city of Kenner work together, that we can come out with something that will be beneficial to everyone concerned and fair to everyone concerned. And the deadline was, again, this was simply to extend the deadline to allow us to have the opportunity to negotiate, to talk, and to come up with something that will be fair to everyone. We're not in agreement at this time, I want to make it very clear, with any of those provisions, not necessarily so.
How much time I got left, Michelle?
48 seconds. I got you up there. But
No
Councilmember
problem.
Stagney has his light on, too.
Okay, fine.
You having a good time?
Thank you, Madam President. Not to belabor the point too much, the city attorney looks pretty stimulated by the whole debate here, but as a direct result of our taxi cabs committee's aggressiveness on this issue and the support of this council, New Orleans and the Aviation Board are listening taxi cab guy told me yesterday, he has a credit card machine, but they're forcing him to go to a particular vendor. You know, some of that stuff doesn't make sense, and we're not going to participate in something that doesn't look right. So I appreciate the effort of our taxi cab committee, because without it, some of this stuff may have gone unnoticed. So they've done a very good job. So far as that transportation millage, you know, that's crazy that we pay $850,000 and all we were getting back was $50,000. And I commend former Mayor Muniz for bringing that to our attention, but I also commend the council members then and now who under no circumstances were going to let transportation stop in this city. And there was a movement. Oh, if we don't have the money, well, we have to fight for that money. It's our citizens' money, and there needs to be some equity among what we pay in to what we get back, and there needs to be some permanency to it. So we won't stop until that happens. I'm hopeful that our mayor and the parish president can get together and see if we can do some form of cooperative that year in and year out will suffice, that will help. We have more pedestrians walking, and we have more riders riding, so we need that money. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay.
Okay, thank the council members. Your comments are well taken. But I just want to say, court ruling came down today that the city of New Orleans is within their rights to impose those rules and regulations on these cab drivers. And I can tell you something. Y'all better work diligently, because I can tell you this, from what I'm looking at, the mayor of New Orleans is intent to call all the shots here. And I don't want to see nobody in this city sitting back and letting that happen. This is the city of Kenner. This is not the city of New Orleans. They got no jurisdiction here. Now, in closing, I want to wish all the citizens of the city of Kenner a very blessed and Merry Christmas and a happy and prosperous New Year. All of our city employees, including the city council and the administration. Any more comments? Any more questions?
Thank you, Mr. Morella. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Mr. Walt Bonetti?
Walt Bonetti, 3009 Illinois Avenue in Kenner, Councilman Stagney's district. Regarding the Kenner Loop, just quickly, about 6 or 7 months ago, I sent a letter on behalf of Citizens for a Better Kenner. I think I copied all the council members as well as Mayor Yenny. Regarding, and I sent it to President John Young, regarding Kenner's fair share of the Kenner Loop money, Lafreniere Park, as well as getting more money from the 911 fund and getting Kenner's money for that. I think that the Kenner Loop money should be made permanent, and hopefully it will, and hopefully we can get some money from the other two as well. I read with interest last night Mr. Baroch's article regarding JEDCO and the financial improprieties there. Since Mayor Yenny was so quick to cut ties with the Kenner Convention and Visitors Bureau over similar financial improprieties, I wondered if he was also going to cut ties with JEDCO and get our money back. Obviously, he's not, because he's telling me that. The second point that I'd like to make, also regarding the Convention and Visitors Bureau, I also read that the mayor made it official regarding the Jefferson Convention and Visitors Bureau. I find it odd that rather than finding or forming a Kenner group, while the mayor is promoting Shop Kenner First, he would rather send Kenner money, Kenner taxpayer dollars, to Jefferson Parish. And I think that's kind of a double standard. I appreciate the comments as well, and the fact that the mayor's actually looking at me. But my main point, one thing that I did want to speak about tonight, I wanted to revisit Kenner City events. A couple of meetings ago regarding the plaque, Mr. Quigley pointed out that Kenner City events is certainly within their rights to give their money out to anything that is civic or educationally interesting. And while that point is certainly true, it is not correct if the group is sponsoring events and perpetrating that they're going to give the proceeds from those events to another nonprofit. According to Louisiana Department of Revenue, that is considered to be fraud. In 2010 and 2011, 2010 and 2011, they sponsored the mayor's prayer breakfast They raised $26,000 in those 2 years. I don't know how much they raised this year. However, according to their income tax records, which I furnished to the council members, and you can see for yourself, they don't show any donations to the Kenner Food Bank. So I would be interested to know exactly how much money went from the prayer breakfast to the Kenner Food Bank, because according to Kenner City Events, they do not collect dues, they have no other sources of revenue, and yet their income and their bank statements grew from year to year, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And if all of their proceeds are supposed to be dedicated to going to the Kenner Food Bank, how could that be possible? From their tax records, from their income tax records. No, but they promoted one event and the proceeds go, well, then they can correct me or the mayor can correct me. And I'm sure they will. But I'd just be interested to know how much money from the prayer breakfast actually went to the Kenner Food Bank. And everyone have a great Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benetti. That's it. Is anyone else from the audience? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Frank Satar. I live 1905 Wellington Lane in Slidell. I drive Jefferson Parish cab. Yeah.
All right, you have 3 minutes.
Okay. I have just until this morning, the extension was for the cab was on 31st of this month. Okay, anybody that doesn't have the equipment will not be able to work at the airport. That was it was firm. So we have an attorney that his name is John Redmond, met at the aviation board, and after long negotiation, they agreed only to extend it until January 17th, which is not enough. I talked to Abe myself. I went over there on advice of our attorney, and he said, register your name to be listed on the list to install the equipment. And Abe told me, I know Abe from a long time, and looked and smiled. He said, there's no list. I said, just put my name on the list that I came to you. He said, well, it's understood. They're not going to do any of these installation, this equipment on the Kenner and the Jefferson Parish cabs, only on New Orleans. So it's just a stalling. We give you, and they claim that they don't have equipments. They don't have any of the equipments. Also, in addition, the information from New Orleans, some of the people from New Orleans cab drivers, that with the credit card machine they use, they hold their money. One of them went to City Hall and was raising hell. It was $1,500 they're holding. They wouldn't give it to him. While the credit card machine that we use automatically goes into your credit card, in your account. So really, that's not upgrade, it's downgrade, the equipment. But the issue that I'm coming here, basic for, is a deadline. It's a trick. They've already talked. Malachi Hall came to 2 people, and they're both witnesses. He thought they drove only in the city, in New Orleans. He told them, he said, don't worry, give me a little time. I'm going to get rid of all the Kenner and the parish cab out, and you're all going to have the airport for yourself. They have 2 witnesses that could say it under oath. Now, whether they're going to be able to come in and identify themselves here, they'll have to consult with their attorney. In other words, it's just a trick to get rid of all the Kenner cabs and all the Jefferson Parish cabs out of here. From basically the information we have, I mean, even Ray Charles can see, the blind can see it. There's a conspiracy right there, So we need really, I mean, the way the City of Kenner, the attitude going back from an incident that happened about 10 years ago regarding the cabs, they look like Kenner or the adjacent parishes like doormats for New Orleans. They don't realize that the people in Kenner sacrifice the environment with these airplanes, sacrifice their health. Jefferson Parish people, they spend money, their taxpayers' money, and send the deputies over there to help them during Mardi Gras and New Year's Eve because they don't know how to protect themselves. They cannot survive without the adjacent parishes, and the city of Kenner and everybody else, you see. So I really think you should really take that incident very seriously, Comes 17th of the attorney got him to agree to 17th of January,
Right.
and that's it. And we're out.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, Councilmember DeFrancis.
Okay, I guess we have to clarify it one more time. Ms. Shaw was at the meeting. She purposely went to the meeting so that she did not get her information secondhand, because when you hear someone say something, it's often open to interpretation, and therefore she wanted to be the one here, there to hear it directly. The deadline is not, I repeat, it is not January 17th. That is the next time they're meeting to discuss these issues. And because they're discussing those issues on January 17th, and the issues are going to be discussed, then you can't make the deadline the same day and the same time as when you are discussing the very issues that are open for discussion. So I want to make that very clear. That is not the deadline, okay? That is simply the next date that they have agreed to come together and discuss these problems. The city of Kenner is not just rolling over and accepting whatever New Orleans is demanding. That's why this committee has been very strong, and this council, as a united council, has fought together to say that we are going to make sure that our cab drivers, our vehicles, people who own vehicles for hire will be treated fairly. And I want to make that point very, very clear, including the issue you brought up about the credit card machines. Nothing has been determined by this council that we are accepting at this moment regarding the regulations that New Orleans is trying to put in place. They are open for discussion. We will work together to make sure that whatever the final product is, whatever the final decision is, whatever the final rules and regulations are, they will be fair to everyone concerned.
Okay, Councilmember DeNapolis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The gentleman that just spoke, I'm going to give you my personal cell number, and if I can get affidavits from those individuals that said that they heard Mr. Malachi say that, I would like to have them for my record as this tax cab committee, because Mr. Malachi is a person of authority in the city of New Orleans, and if he is actually saying those sort of things, I definitely want to get to the bottom of it. And I'm going to give you my personal cell number. If I can get affidavits, I would like to present that to the council. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember DeNapolis. Councilmember Black.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Mr. Francis gave a very good summation of what has been going on. This council is united to help the Jefferson Parish and Kenner cab drivers. As evidenced, we feel, and I'm almost sure, that the reason that they rescinded that December 31st date to the 17th of January is due to the legislation that we sent to them. And they reacted to the legislation saying that they're going to come back and extend those deadlines until such time, after reading the legislation, to try and determine a fair outcome of the whole situation. So we do stand united together on this, and I think that it's about time that we, as the city of Kenner, stands up for our rights for our cab drivers and Jefferson Parish as a whole. So I want to commend the whole council for working on this together, and I hope that we can continue to persevere until, because everybody says, man, you're trying to fight City Hall. There's no way, these licenses cost a fortune, and they're not going to rescind on anything. Well, we're not going to go down fighting without a fight. So keep on trucking, girls and boys. Thank you.
Councilmember DeNapolis, you've already spoken in this portion of the meeting. Okay. Anybody else from the audience? All right. Well, at this time, would like to do a old tradition. It goes back to, I think, Terry McCarthy and Betty Benora. And the council. And wait, let me give everybody a mic, because I'm not going to be the only one singing.
Why make it different than any other year, Madam
See,
President?
mine's different color. They got mine from the kids section.
And I'm not messing up my hairdo.
Oh, Jeannie. Come on, Jeannie, put it on.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas
And a happy New Year. Good tidings.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
New Year.
Everyone.
God bless.